All right, folks, the deep state. The deep state is real. I can't tell you enough. I don't care what you call it. The sloppy state, the silly state, the deep state, the conspiracy state. I don't care what you call it. But telling me it's not real is an utter absurdity. I'll prove it to you today. Having said that, the deep state can't and doesn't act alone. The deep state is just so you know what the deep state is, it's not just a talking point. What it actually is, it's a series of bureaucrats, embedded government officials, people at upper levels of our intel and law enforcement agency, some of whom have sworn off their duty to act in a nonpartisan manner and obey the Constitution of the United States and act like political operatives themselves. These deep staters don't go anywhere. That's why they're called the deep state, not the shallow state, because they're not shallow. They're deep. They're entrenched. They're embedded like ticks, and they never go away. No matter what happens, Trump's elected, Biden's elected, Obama's elected, Bush is elected, it doesn't matter. The deep staters are there, embedded in your skin like a tick, sucking on the blood of the American people. But the deep state can't and doesn't act alone. Things like gathering intelligence, PR management, that's always been the role of people outside the deep state that help the deep state. Come on, Dan. No, they don't. Really? Spygate. Where did the Spygaters who spied on Donald Trump's campaign, where did they get the information from? Think it through for a moment, right? Where did they get the information from? Oh, that's right. They got it from the outside. They got it from an alleged source at the Brookings Institution. That'll come in handy in a few minutes. They got it from Christopher Steele. He wasn't a U.S. operative. He was a foreign operative. It wasn't the FBI that gathered that information. The deep state needs their tentacle people that go out and grab stuff with tentacles. Well, one of those deep staters, deep state auxiliary officials, we'll call them for today's show. One of the deep state auxiliary officials was a woman by the name of Susan Hennessy. Susan Hennessy, however, is now in the government. Look at this National Review story. I know you're like, who's Susan Hennessy? Hold on. I will tie this whole thing together for you. Tobias Hoonhut, the greatest name ever, and Isaac Shore from National Review. A story will be up in the newsletter today, bongino.com/newsletter. Department of Justice picks Susan Hennessy's long, sordid history of partisan conspiracy mongering. Joe Biden is not kidding around. This is what irks me so much about the Republican-Democrat symbiote right now. The Republicans don't play for keeps. The Democrats do. Susan Hennessy, ladies and gentlemen, was a Brookings Institution fellow who was one of the biggest pee-pee hoaxers you have ever seen. If there was a hoax, a Donald Trump hoax out there, Susan Hennessy from Brookings was out there pumping the hoax right up the American collective caboose. On her Twitter account, her social media accounts, through any public appearance she did, Susan Hennessy was a gold medal winning Russian collusion hoaxer, PP tape promoter. She is now stunningly getting an appointment in the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, National Security Division, the same National Security Division that the last Obama-Biden administration, the National Security Division that managed the whole spying operation on Donald Trump, that Hennessy, when she was at Brookings, supported. These people aren't afraid one bit. The Biden administration doesn't sit around and go, oh my gosh, this could be really bad PR. You know, this woman, Susan Hennessy, she was a fellow at Brookings. You know, she tweeted about supporting the debunked PP hoax. That's kind of embarrassing. She supported the collusion hoax. That's kind of embarrassing. She attacked Brett Kavanaugh based on false lies. That's kind of embarrassing. The Obama administration, the Biden administration doesn't care. The Biden administration is like, that's so awesome. How do we get her in the government? I got an idea. Let's hire her for the National Security Division, a DOJ job, where the same National Security Division that managed the Spygate scandal last time. You believe this crap? Just how bad was Susan Hennessy out of Brookings? And why does her employment with Brookings matter? Wait till I tell you who she worked with at Brookings and what Brookings did, the Brookings Institution, and why bringing Susan Hennessy into the government is the biggest double-barreled blank you to America the Biden administration's done yet. Pee-pee hoaxer, Susan Hennessy. Let's go to this Twitchy article. It'll be again in the newsletter today, bongino.com/newsletter. Twitchy. CNN Susan Hennessy announces new job with Biden DOJ as a ton of tweets suddenly disappear. Strange, right? Susan Hennessy, pee-pee hoaxer, gets a job with the Biden DOJ, and all of a sudden her tweet history seems to be disappearing. Well, don't worry. We have some of them. She's busy deleting tweets, Susan Hennessy, but don't worry. We've got them. Hat tip National Review and Twitchy for pulling some of these. Here's one of them. Here's Susan Hennessy defending the leaks in the intelligence community that plagued the Trump administration. You know, the leaks that were usually factually inaccurate. She says, quote, let's stop the narrative that intelligence community leaks highly sensitive info out of revenge right in its tracks. That's not what happened. She was all about intelligence community leaks when she was a pee-pee hoaxer. Why? Because Susan Hennessy, while promoting the Russian collusion hoax, realized quickly that the intelligence community leaks that were actually fake later, they were false stories, the leaks were about fake information, were helping the media tailor a narrative to attack Donald Trump. So, of course, she defended intelligence community leaks. I'm not sure if that tweet's still there. She's busy deleting her Twitter profile now. Full disclosure, I have tweet delete on mine because I don't owe anybody anything. I'm not in the government, and I don't like leftists going through my Twitter profile and using information to make Twitter money. So I delete everything. You can go find them, but I'm just going to make you do your homework first. But again, I'm not looking for a role in the U.S. government. Fascinating. Here's Susan Hennessy again. Here's another tweet where she defends the whole Spygate investigation. You know, the whole Spygate, the hoax, investigating Donald Trump for fake ties to Russia. She says, quote, the bottom line here appears to be that the origins and conduct of the Russia investigation happened exactly how former officials have been saying it did all along. No, that's not what happened. And that there was some misconduct by lower level employees, but it didn't implicate the substantive investigation. Susan, pee-pee hoaxer Susan, you may not have heard, but the FISA court itself said that the investigation was based on false information. You may have missed that. You may have also missed the Mueller report that could find no substantive connections whatsoever between any American and the Russian government. But of course, she defends the IC leaks. She defends the Spygate, the whole spying scandal, because that's what deep state auxiliary officers do. Here's another one. I guess this is deleted too, where she attacks Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes, the heroic Republican congressman who exposed the whole Spygate scandal. She said, frankly, Nunes' lack of knowledge is outright alarming from the Select Committee on Intelligence chair. So she has to attack Nunes too. I'm sure that tweet will be deleted too. So this is the supposed nonpartisan voice we want in the blind Department of Justice. Justice is blind, supposed to treat each American equally. This is the person you want? Susan Hennessy, collusion hoaxer, defender of intelligence community leaks that happen to be false, and a person who attacked the one person who got it right, Devin Nunes, who exposed the whole scandal. This is the person we now have in the National Security Division that, yes, was responsible for overseeing the whole scandal spying on Donald Trump. Now, you may say, Dan, that sounds bad. Collusion hoaxer, defender of illegal leaks from the intelligence community, attacking the one congressman who got it right. Even worse, she supported the impeachment hoax too. Stay tuned to the show. Wait till I tell you who she worked with and these other people. This will all make sense. Why Biden's hiring these people now. They're trying to Spygate, sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the... So what better way to sweep the whole Obama-Biden Spygate scandal, spying on Trump, under the rug, than to hire the people who support it in the Department of Justice to make sure this stuff never sees the light of day. But she didn't only support the whole spying scandal. She also supported the impeachment hoax. Remember the first Donald Trump impeachment hoax, where they impeached him for a phone call with the Ukrainian president alleging a quid pro quo, a something for something that never happened? Remember that? Well, here's Susan Hennessy in a video appearance here. I want you to listen to this, where she says, listen, the Senate may not get rid of, because remember, the impeachment happened in the House, the trial in the Senate. The Senate may not get rid of him, but, maybe we should think of other ways, basically. She says the Constitution failed here. We really need to think of other ways to get rid of the president. Check this out.
There are two big categories in which the founders just get it wrong. They understand they're creating this massively empowered executive, but they say, don't worry, because there are two things that are really going to constrain this. So they make two big mistakes. One is they don't foresee the rise of political parties. They don't foresee that the remedy of impeachment actually isn't going to be the legislative branch having a counterbalancing function, but instead it's just going to be a measurement of how many members of the president's own party happen to sit at the Senate at the time, paired with the failure of the Electoral College to actually perform the screening functions that the founders envisioned. I do think we have to have real concern about the long-term sort of ability of Congress to oversee and effectively constrain the executive branch.
She was just hired by the executive branch, Joe Biden. I guarantee you won't hear similar comments about constraining the executive branch now that she's a political insider in the Biden administration. Forgive me. She was only concerned about constraining the executive branch when Donald Trump was in charge. She didn't think impeachment, the process now, was serious enough. Now, who did Susan Hennessy work with, who's now going to be a big shot in the National Security Division in the Department of Justice? Well, she wrote a book with an interesting guy. Doesn't like me much. Here's the cover of the book. I'm not advertising it, but you need to see it. It's called Unmasking the Presidency by Susan Hennessy and Benjamin Wittes. Ben Wittes, my old buddy. And by old buddy, I mean my not old buddy. So they wrote a book together. Why does Susan Hennessy, now National Security Division, soon to be official, why does who she wrote a book with, why does that matter? Because who is Benjamin Wittes? Her buddy, co-author, pals, bosom buddies. Why does that matter? Well, who's Ben Wittes? Well, you see, Ben Wittes works at the Brookings Institution, where he's a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. That's interesting. We also see that Susan Hennessy works with him at the Brookings Institution, where Susan happens to be a fellow there as well. So Wittes and Susan Hennessy worked together. They wrote a book together. So who is Ben Wittes? Well, let's go to this handy video from NBC. Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd. Oh, you always have to laugh after you say Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd got Wittes on the air about the book. And Chuck Todd asks him about his relationship with Jim Comey. You know, Jim Comey, the FBI director who oversaw the Spygate operation, the spying operation on Donald Trump. You know that, right? Comey has a relationship with Ben Wittes, who obviously has a relationship with Susan Hennessy. They worked together. They wrote a book together. Just how close is Susan Hennessy's buddy, Ben Wittes, with Jim Comey? Well, don't listen to me. Listen to Ben Wittes tell you himself. Check this out.
Ben Wittes. He is an NBC News legal analyst, editor-in-chief of Lawfare blog, and a personal friend of James Comey. Mr. Wittes, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you've gotten through, I assume, as much of the book as you can.
Yeah, I only got it this afternoon, I'm sort of making my way through.
Everybody is scrambling. I understand that. What's the biggest surprise to you so far?
Well, so, I have been not surprised, actually, by a lot of the tone of it because, unlike a lot of people, I was kind of talking to Jim through some of this period, and a lot of the tone of this book it's fully consistent with the tone of our conversations at the time.
It's too good to be true, isn't it? And by too good, I mean too bad. So Susan Hennessy, who used her Twitter account to support the spying operation on Donald Trump based on a hoax, the collusion hoax, works with Ben Wittes and wrote a book with Ben Wittes. Ben Wittes goes on the air to tell you he's best buddies with Jim Comey, the FBI director who oversaw the spying operation on Donald Trump based on the hoax, the collusion hoax, and also vouches for Comey's book, saying, yeah, I read it, and that matches the tone of what Jim Comey, my buddy, told me. This is Susan Hennessy's guy. They're like this. And then Wittes and Comey are like this. They're all buddies. But don't worry, folks. There's no deep state and no deep state auxiliary force out. None. This is all just a hoax. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm using their own words. That's a video of Ben Wittes telling you he's best buddies with the worst FBI director in human history who oversaw a government spying operation on Donald Trump, Jim Comey. Those are his words, not mine. Susan Hennessy's working relationship with Wittes is established. They work together. That's a fact. They wrote a book together. Clearly, they have a relationship. Just kind of strange, right? That Hennessy then uses her social media account to support the spying scandal that her buddy Ben Wittes' buddy Jim Comey was in charge of and marshaled the entire time. Isn't that really strange? So do you think it's a coincidence? Let me play this second video for you here. That Susan Hennessy, best buds with Ben Wittes from Brookings, where they work together, who's best buds with Comey, also supports Jim Comey too, and really didn't like the fact that he was fired by Donald Trump for being a really corrupt FBI director. She didn't like that at all. Here's video of Susan Hennessy telling us how much she didn't like it. Check this out.
I will conclude on the idea that we should think about this, not just what Donald Trump is doing, not just in this presidency, but also in, let's assume that he doesn't win re-election. That's sort of a necessary but not sufficient condition to sort of reform things. So Donald Trump did fire the FBI director, and this is something that sort of for I think plainly illegitimate reasons. And this is something that we didn't think you could politically get away with before, but he did get away with it.
Who's she on that panel with? If you're watching us on Rumble, folks. Rumble.com/Bongino. Who is that on the panel there? She's talking about. Well, she's talking about her book. And that's Ben Wittes, her co-author, right next to her right. As she's saying, yeah, that firing of Jim Comey, that was no good. Comey, who's conveniently Ben Wittes' buddy. Wittes, who vouches for Comey after Comey got caught lying about the spying operation on Donald Trump multiple times. Oh, folks, I got more. So now we know Hennessy works with Wittes. Wittes is buddies with Comey. No, there's no deep state, no connections at all. It's a conspiracy there. That's what the left's going to say. Meanwhile, keep in mind, I'm just using their own words, folks. Just their own words. Their own words.